Now, last night on the programme, we were talking about talking to your neighbour on the tube. And we did kind of sense that for some of you it's an appalling thing to happen, and some of you love and embrace it hugely. How bad can it be to speak to your neighbour on the tube? Well, very, according to some of you. Yesterday we brought you the news that hundreds of badges were being handed out on the underground saying tube chat with a question mark. The idea being, if you put one on, you're inviting somebody to engage you in conversation during your commute. Well, the badges didn't go down well with a lot of Londoners, and one man who decided to retaliate joins us now because you, Brian Wilson, have produced badges which say, don't even think about talking to me on them. How quickly, when did you start producing these? Presumably when you found out about the other badges.
Yeah, well, I was on the internet yesterday on the Twitter, and we had a look at it. I saw this American bloke running around London handing out these silly badges, and I thought, he's just going to spoil the place. The tube is a sacred environment where you can go, you ain't got to talk to no one, you can put your head down, and it's a bit of relaxation time. And he's had out his badges, so I thought to myself, I'm going to do something about it.
So in terms of your badges, how successful have you been? How many have you managed to give away?
Well, we gave away 500 this morning at Liverpool Street.
500? Really? And people just took them?
Went down a stall. People were loving them. Everyone's been hearing about this tube chat, and quite a few people are pissed off about it.
What's your language, yeah? And I apologise on your behalf, yeah.
I apologise. We're going to have an army of people by next week. I've had messages all day on the Twitter machine. We're going to have an army of people all over London. You just keep your eyes peeled outside tube stations all over London. We're going to be handing these things out. We're going to beat that American, I tell you. We will beat his campaign.
I suspect that what's happened is, over the last couple decades, in many countries, by the way, I think we've lost community. People got on their bikes, they've moved away from where they were raised and born, where generations of neighbors knew your family, where the extended family was all in one community. We did that maybe 2 or 3 decades ago. It means now that they don't have the social support systems they used to have in communities. By social support, I mean, you have problems, you go talk to your auntie, your grandma. You don't live near your auntie, your grandma, your extended family's gone.
Yeah, humans probably evolved in fairly small communities, and now we live in these enormous communities. So there are sub-communities within an enormous community like London, and if you don't belong to the same subgroup, you may find that you think in different ways, or what's culturally important to you and socially important to you may differ, and so on.
I think the good news about the breakup of the community is probably individuals have to discover who they are. So that's probably the good news, whereas perhaps in a community, you were kind of assigned a role, if you know what I mean. And that is interesting. So maybe you're more free to be who you are, but that means there are going to be more stresses and strains because you don't have the infrastructure of the community to help support you in this venture. In the adventure of finding out who you are, they're gone. So there's a lot of pressure on the individual. The tube chat failure, I think, was known by everybody. And the reason I think it failed is you have to understand the context of a tube. And the context is people are coming and going quickly, so they don't really have a lot of time to communicate with one another. It's not like going on a train journey from London to Manchester.
The need to interact with the people around you is just, I think, too much pressure for people. They're already putting their energies into defining some personal boundaries. It's interesting, people don't mind chatting to each other if there's a crisis on the tube. You're stuck there, people start talking to each other, because at that point, interaction is more important than maintaining your privacy.
It is certainly the case that if you look at divisions in societies, we're getting them all over the place. You have it in the US over Trump, you have it in the UK over Brexit. Much more dividing cultures, subcultures within society than ever before. It's lack of leadership, it's lack of coherence. It's probably a lot to do with the me generation. You know, I don't know, we've moved. I'm afraid too much of the world has been Americanized. And I think that's caused a lot of the kind of lack of respect for other people, listening to them, interacting with them, no matter what part of life they come from. If you're transactional, then you look at somebody and you say, what can I get out of them? That's the American way.
In real time, two-way interaction where we see the person we're interacting with, the percentage of time we spend on that is decreasing as other types of communication come in, and I think we don't know where that will lead us.
I think if we talked more, not about one another, but to one another, that could build up a really good climate for our country, for any country. I think technology is causing problems in a way, because technology is about virtual relationships. Now you'd think, well, that's good. The next generation, the millennials, the Z generation are great. They're into social media, much more open. Yeah, but they're not, that doesn't mean they're open face to face. And my real worry about that is the more you do social media, the less you develop your social skills on acting with people face to face, eyeball to eyeball. The more and more it becomes virtual, your world becomes virtual. There's a problem, because you're not developing the social skills that you do when we didn't have this, that people developed.
I think we always underestimate the extent to which visible information has played a part in human communication. So, you know, we think of ourselves as people who speak, but when people speak, they move their bodies. When people speak, they gesture. Humans evolved to interact face to face, not to speak on the telephone.
I think the world we're living in now is, you know, you want something, you want it immediate, you want it at your home, and you can order everything online through all sorts of organizations, right, without ever going into a store. Think about what you do when you go into a store and buy something. You're talking to somebody. You bump into people you might know from your neighborhood, right? That's all about how we develop our social skills. The more we stay in at the house, order our food online, order everything you can possibly imagine online, and get all the cardboard boxes sent to you, 20 a day, I think you're losing a lot of your social interaction skills. So it could be that they are enabled to have better social interaction because they're able to do it when it's remote, or it could be by doing all this virtual world, actually it inhibits their development of social skills from a young age, and in fact they get worse. Social interactions are important because they meet your deeper psychological needs, where somebody trusts you, values you, and that makes you feel good. That's what it's about. This person values me, warts and all, even all my downsides. That person loves me, cares about me, values me. That's what social relationships are all about. If you look at all the happiness surveys, do you get what you earn and how much money you have as the top factor? Nope. Do you get whether you're successful in your job as a top factor? Nope. The top one is having close personal relationships. That's the number one factor you'll get on almost every happiness survey. That's what people want the most in life.